Hi, welcome back to my channel. Quick recap. Today, I am going to explain the Devil Conspiracy movie. That is a science fiction thriller film. Watch out and take care. Lucifer attempted to step a rebellion against God millions of years ago, and as a consequence, he was expelled from heaven as punishment. After being cast out of heaven, Lucifer fell into hell where he bound to a large rock by Archangel Michael, and he used his own sword as a seal to ensure that Lucifer remained bound. As Michael exits, Lucifer declares his intention to return in the future, with the aim of becoming equal to God. Over the passing years, Lucifer assembles a host of demons to aid him in plotting his revenge. Meanwhile, his followers construct a residence around the hole through which he was thrown down, as they eagerly await his return. In the year 2022, Laura, who is an art historian, is currently pursuing her studies in Italy. Laura's academic interest lies in exploring the idea that the prominent Italian artists did not hold genuine beliefs in the angels and demons represented in their works. However, her professor disapproves of this idea, as it is seen as an affront to Italy's cultural legacy. Compounding the situation, Laura's professor suggests a private meeting at his apartment to discuss the thesis, which makes her feel uncomfortable and she flees from his approaches. Shortly thereafter, Laura encounters with her father Marconi, who presents her with a special pass granting her access to all the presentations in his cathedral, including the recently unveiled exhibit of the Shroud of Turin. The cloth holds the blood of Jesus shed during his crucifixion. Laura receives a comprehensive tour of the premises from the priest, and subsequently, they are shown a stunning statue of Michael defeating Lucifer by Marconi, right after they had observed the shroud. After a brief discussion on the topic of evil, Marconi departs, leaving Laura to work on sketching the statue for her thesis. As Laura sketches, she senses someone calling out her name, but upon looking around, she finds no one nearby and criticizes it to her imagination. As time passes, the exhibition nears its end, and it's almost time for closure. Just before the final group of visitors arrives, a raven is spotted flying around the building and eventually lands by the entrance, where it transforms into Liz and joins the group, catching the attention of a security guard monitoring the area via security cameras. Liz proceeds down the corridor adorned with statues and quietly observes Laura sketching from afar. She stops only when she notices the head of the Lucifer statue moving. Feeling apprehensive once more, Laura scans her surroundings and becomes startled by a raven perched on the windowsill. Taking advantage of Laura's distraction, Liz seizes Michael's sword from the statue and departs unnoticed. While Laura was in that area, a guard approached her, assuming that she was the hooded person who has become separated from the group. Nevertheless, Laura is able to confirm her authorization to access that particular area. After reminding Laura that they are closing, the guard departed, believing that it was a simple misunderstanding. As Laura collected her things, she caught a glimpse of a hand that she thought might be of Michael, but she couldn't identify it for certain. Since the front door was already locked, Laura made her way to search for another exit. Upon returning to the corridor, Laura is taken aback to witness Liz holding a sword, killing the guard, and then cut off the head of guard. Filled with terror, Laura fled the scene and took shelter in a confessional booth. From there, she watched in horror as Liz used the guard's eyes to turn off the alarms and then broke the protective glass of the shroud with the sword, stealing the relic. Marconi became aware of the disturbance and rushed to interfere, but Liz stabbing him with her weapon. As Liz's accomplices arrived to assist in protecting the shroud, Liz spotted Laura hiding in the confessional booth and ordered her men to take her before leaving the scene. Following the exit of the group from the room, Marconi, in his dying moments, offered a prayer and requested Michael to use his body to prevent Lucifer from causing any harm. Without delay, Michael descended from heaven and entered the priest's body, using it to pursue Liz's group as they are going away in their vehicle. Michael's angelic abilities allowed him to run at an incredible speed, but the human body he was inhabiting is not capable of tolerating such power. So he have to slow down and eventually stop in order to prevent damaging the priest's body. A gathering of rich individuals observed a child curiosity displaying exceptional talent how they play a violin with remarkable skill. Following the performance, Dr. Laurent reveals that the young musician is a clone of the renowned composer Antonio Vivaldi, in which Dr. Laurent's company creates clones using DNA extracted from the graves of historical figures. The kids are subsequently put up for auction to wealthy parents, and in the current instance, a clone of Michelangelo is being offered. At the time of the auction, Liz arrives to inform Laurent that they have Shroud. Shortly thereafter, the group arrives at Lucifer Villa. Lauren is eager about the shroud because it allows him to finally clone Jesus, while Laura is held captive in a glass ring along with Brenda and 2 other women. One of the captives continues to cry and shout, but Laura manages to soothe her by speaking to her in a gentle manner. Laura believes that they should collaborate and make up a plan. However, before they can proceed with any planning, a group of nurses enters the cell to take Laura's vital signs. Meanwhile, Michael makes his way back to the cathedral and discovers that other priests are examining the security tapes. Upon observing Marconi alive on the security tapes, the men are shocked, but Michael does indeed clarify the situation and instead inquires about the preservers of the shroud. The priests clarify that Cardinal Vincini was responsible for preserving the shroud, but he became mentally unstable and began speaking of demonic creatures and illegal cults, which attributed to his mental illness by everyone. Michael expresses disbelief that the priests do not believe in the teachings of the Bible and demands to know the whereabouts of Vincini. He discovers that Vincini is now living as a monk in an asylum. After acquiring the security footage, Michael presents Laura's identification pass to the priests and inquires about her. He then requests that the priests promise not to disclose that they saw him. Michael takes a jacket and some pain medication from the glove compartment of Marconi's car before leaving to reduce the discomfort getting from his powers. Then, a raven follows Michael throughout his journey. As the scientists at the villa working hard to extract Jesus' DNA from the shroud, Michael arrives at the asylum to meet with a nervous and armed Vincini. The moment Vincini touches Michael, he recognizes that Michael is not merely a priest and instantly accepts Michael's assertion that he is an angel. With knowledge of Liz's actions, Vincini guides Michael to the mansion constructed around the hole in the hell and elaborates on the asylum's establishment as a surveillance. According to the scriptures, the return of Lucifer requires 2 ancient beasts with connections to both worlds. One is a woman, which clearly points to Liz, and the other is known as the beast of the ground. Lucifer's followers was providing him with children for years, but the human vessels were not powerful enough to hold him. The reason for stealing the shroud was to clone Jesus because he is the only one with a body strong enough to contain Lucifer, who has been searching for a suitable vessel for years. Michael expresses disgust upon learning about Lucifer's plan and promises to stop it. Vincini then drives him to the base of the Villa Mountain. Lucifer's seal starts to weaken as Michael's sword reacts to his presence in the vicinity, so now Lucifer can pull up the chain and potentially break free. Inside the villa, the women are discussing how to escape from here, and during their conversation, Laura discloses that she has been lost of both her husband and child. Lauren conducts some examinations and finds out that Laura is fully compatible. So, Liz instructs him to start the procedure ASAP. Later on, the nurses come back to the cell to take the girls, but the women counter and attempt to protect themselves by using their chains. More nurses arrive and, sadly, they overpower the women. Then, Brenda and Laura are subsequently taken to the surgery room by them. The medical professionals perform a procedure where they insert fertilized eggs containing DNA from Jesus into the uteri of the girls. Simultaneously, Liz makes her presence known by introducing herself as an angel from the Lord. Liz explains to Laura that she is certain that she is the chosen one because she had saw her sketches of Lucifer in the cathedral, which had greatly impressed. In the meantime, Vincini drops Michael off at the opening of a latent cave that leads directly to the villa. Vincini observes the raven that has been tracking them before their departure and shoots it down. Afterward, he passes his weapon to Michael, who wastes no time in starting his journey through the cave. After some time, Laura and Brenda are dressed in bridal outfit and taken to a gathering of people who worship Lucifer. There, they are bound to a pole. Next, the girls are collected by the beast of the ground, who transfers them to a massive bird cage. The cage is subsequently lowered down into the well, which serves as a barrier to the entrance of hell. Out of nowhere, a cluster of demons emerges around the cage, conquer the women while Lucifer adapts his physical form into a purely ethereal state, allowing him to enter Brenda through her oral cavity. After a brief struggle against the devil, Brenda dies. Subsequently, Lucifer exits from Brenda's body and takes possession of Laura instead, but she successfully escaped from the possession without any issue. Subsequently, Laura comes out from the room with confusion, and Liz introduces her as the chosen one before escorting her to a new cell made of glass, furnished with a bed and a device to monitor her vital signs. Laura inquires about what has been implanted inside her. Liz tells that it's an improved Jesus. Returning to Michael, he ultimately locates a door along the cave tunnel and proceeds to blast it open in order to entry into the villa. As soon as Michael is spotted by the guards, Michael fails to use his weapon, and in turn, he is shot in the shoulder by the guards. In response, Michael fights back and swiftly knocks them out with a few punches. He then takes one of their uniforms and a pass, which he uses to move around unnoticed. After successfully entering the lab, Michael obtains the shroud and proceeds to check the security cameras in order to locate Laura's whereabouts. Suddenly, Laurent enters the lab, but without hesitation, Michael pushes him against a nearby table and demands answers from him. Laurent only responds by stating that he works towards a new beginning. Michael makes the decision to ignite the gas canisters and use a flare to create a massive explosion that destroys the entire lab. This serves as a barrier between him and the approaching guards. As the explosion triggers the fire alarm throughout the building, Laura becomes aware of the situation and requests the nurse to release her from the cell. However, the nurse refuses to let her leave. Suddenly, Michael appears and defeats the nurse before Laura's eyes. Laura, relieved to see Michael. However, Michael's attention is diverted when he begins to hear Lucifer's voice in his mind, taunting him about his newfound freedom. Michael is unable to understand how his seal was breached and becomes angry, which causes Laura to suspect that he may be aligned with the enemy. Fearful for her safety, Laura attempts to run away from the scene, but Michael manages to catch up to her and pulls her into a nearby room, preventing her from being discovered by the guards. Laura reacts by taking Michael's gun and pointing it at him in self-defense. However, Michael is able to persuade her that he is with her and tends to her bullet wound. Laura reveals what was done to her. Michael decides to take Laura with him in order to keep her safe. As Michael and Laura try to escape, Liz notices their departure and sends her henchmen behind them. In an attempt to protect Laura, Liz kills one of her own guards who almost harms Laura. Michael and Laura make their way through the cave tunnel to escape, but the baby's growth is causing Laura to feel unwell and they begin to face difficulties. Michael and Laura are confronted by the beast, which engages in a fight with Michael. While Michael initially puts up a good fight, his human body begins to weaken, and the beast ultimately overpowers and defeats him. Upon Liz's arrival with her henchmen, they recapture Laura. However, she warns them that she will harm the baby if they put a finger on the priest. But Liz tells Laura that the priest is already dead and now that she only needs to kill the angel as well. After Laura is brought to her cell and tied on the bed, Michael is brought to a room with a well and chained there. Using his powers, Michael breaks the chains binding him, but doing so drains him of his strength. Exhausted, Michael crawls towards the well and manages to jump inside the well before the beast catches up to him. Michael examines the stone and is surprised to find that his sword is missing. Michael finds himself surrounded by more demons, who use Lucifer's sword to imprison him in the same way to what he did to Lucifer in the past. Meanwhile, Laura feels a supernatural speed of growth in her pregnancy. Liz informs Laura that her current baby will take place as a substitute for the previous one she lost, but Laura refuses to consider them identical. Laura observes the baby on the ultrasound screen and is surprised when the baby appears to crawl out and roar at her. However, when she wakes up, she realizes it was just a dream. She sees Liz sitting next to her. Laura remains silent, so Liz begins to tell the story of Lucifer's battle against God, but Laura is uninterested and Liz slapped her. Liz assures Laura that she will release her once she delivers the baby, but in the meantime, she insists on being treated with respect. Moments later, Michael is discovered by a group of children on the rock. These are actually unsuccessful offerings who have formed in group to bear the challenges of hell. The children aren't sure if they can trust angels because Lucifer was once an angel too. However, Michael assures them that he'll take them home if they locate his sword. Unfortunately, the conversation is disrupted by the arrival of demons, causing the children to run. However, some of the children are caught by the demons, leaving Michael feeling helpless and annoyed as he watches on. While in the cell, Lucifer's presence exits Laura's womb for a moment and gains access to her brain by infiltrating through her ear. He presents Laura with an attractive proposal. If she allows him into her life, he will provide aid and revenge her family's murderer and eliminating Liz, whom Laura intensely dislikes, from her life. Agreeing to the bargain, Laura reclines on the bed and allows Lucifer to assume control of the baby as she dreams up herself handling the child and developing a deep connection with him. Observing the situation, Liz becomes concerned that Laura may be acquiring excessive strength. After some time, while a nurse is examining her, Laura uses her new abilities to turn off the light and harm the nurse. Subsequently, Laura departs from the room and unexpectedly encounters another nurse, whom she proceeds to physically assault and strike with her feet until the nurse dead. Suddenly, Laura breaks free from Lucifer's evil control and becomes terrified upon realizing what she did right now. She makes the decision to kill the baby in order to prevent the further situation. Lucifer pleads her not to go ahead with her intention to harm the baby, calling his mother. Disregarding Lucifer's appeal, Laura takes a container of chlorine and battles against Lucifer's effect in order to consume it. Laura starts to vomit and crimps in agony, but Liz kicks open the door and yells her for her actions towards the baby. As Laura was preparing to exit in search of a physician, she unexpectedly uses her abilities to shut the door and forcefully push Liz downwards, causing her to vomit on her face. As it happened, Lucifer has taken control on her body, and this is him punishing Liz for her mistakes. Liz desires to have been the holder of the baby, but her requests to Lucifer to assign her this task are disregarded. Lucifer insists that no one can be aware of what has happened here after the birth, and therefore, everyone must die. In addition, he is concerned that Laura and the baby are developing a close emotional connection, which implies that Laura must also be killed following the birth. Lucifer strikes Lauren upon his arrival, as Lauren pleads to be rescued from the chlorine. Shortly after, Laura's body is placed inside a healing chamber for recovery. For a brief moment, Lucifer's spirit exits Laura's body and possesses a demon in the depths of hell. He contacts Michael and taunts him over his defeat. Unaware to him, the children are observing from the shadows, and this serves as evidence of Michael's goodness. Once Lucifer departs, Michael finally perceives the reason why God is permitting these events, and the children arrive to assist him. The children lack the necessary strength to free the demon's sword from its chains, and thus, they set out to search for Michael's sword instead. Having located Michael's sword amidst the rubble, the children are interrupted in their attempt to give it to Michael by the arrival of a group of demons. These demons offer the children the opportunity to gain their freedom as well. Initially, the children are hesitant upon hearing the demon's offer, but they recall what they have learned and ultimately deliver Michael's sword to him. Upon receiving it, Michael momentarily regains his former appearance and proceeds to down the demons. Following his success over the demons, Michael vows to return for the children soon. He then gets down to earth, inhabiting Marconi's body, and retrieves the shroud before returning to the main building. En route, Michael knocks down a guard and takes over their weapon. Upon arriving, he discovers that Lucifer's voice is the one responding to her. Determined to assist Laura, Michael starts pushing the healing pod towards another chamber. This action is observed by a nurse. Upon closing the room, Michael unlocks the healing pod and attempts to clarify to Laura that the baby is not what she perceives it to be. However, Lucifer interrupts him with a powerful roar and shoves him aside. Lucifer leads Laura's body to position it above Michael and proclaims that her water has broken before proceeds to pour the fluid onto the angel, causing him significant bodily harm. Michael attempts to run, but Lucifer catches him and restrains him on Laura's lap, demanding to be worshipped. Upon Michael's refusal, Lucifer stabs Laura's fingers into his neck. Despite this, Michael remains resolute and divulges his realization that God has permitted this to occur as a means to constrain and forever seal Lucifer within Jesus' holy body. Upon hearing this, Lucifer becomes irritated and throws a tantrum, causing Michael to be knocked unconscious in the activity. As Liz and the guards arrive, Lucifer urges Liz to murder the child, but due to his possession of Laura, Liz mistakes his words for hers and commands the guards to transport her to the altar. Atop the gateway to hell, Laura delivers her baby, and Liz promptly takes the child from her possession. Laura is abandoned at the top of the well, while the beast opens the lid, causing her to push down into the depths before reunite with the others. Liz introduces their newborn savior to Lucifer's followers, declaring that he will undergo a baptism of blood instead of water. Following this, the beast ruthlessly takes steps to kill every follower, physician, and guard present there. Although Lauren is shocked and also grateful at his survival, after that he kisses the baby's forehead and quickly Beast takes his life too. Meanwhile, Michael regains consciousness and utilizes his weapon to shatter the window, enabling his escape from the chamber. As he enters the well chamber, Michael discovers Laura clinging critically to the edge. He pulls her to safety before they set out together to pursue their opponent. Just as Liz is on the verge of driving away with the child, Laura rushes towards her, striking her before making a grab for the child. Liz pleads for Lucifer to be spared, but Michael clarifies that the infant is not actually Lucifer. Laura was not chosen by the devil to bear his child, rather, it was God who selected her for this task. Unknowingly, she gave birth to what will become Lucifer's never-ending prison. Laura departs in the car to search for Vincini, while Michael stays behind to engage in battle, as the gates of hell have been opened, and the demons are likely to attempt to flee. Michael quickly runs towards the well and manages to shut it, but is then confronted by the beast, who throws him aside and begins to reopen the well. Just as the beast is about to open the well, Michael uncovers the explosives that Liz planted to cover the tracks and triggers them, resulting in a massive blast that destroyed the entire facility, covering the whole of well under tons of debris. After some time, Vincini brings Laura and the baby to the cathedral, where they return the shroud. Meanwhile, Michael fulfills his promise and goes back to hell to release all the captive children. Over the course of several years, Laura has been living with Vincini at the asylum in order to keep the child safe and healthy, who really has grown up today. Liz ventures into the forest to observe the family and attempts to summon Lucifer. However, when the devil attempts to flee, the child holds him inside his body once again to preventing the seal. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button if you enjoy and subscribe my channel.